Hey, I'm such a big fan. I'm really excited to talk to you and have you on.
Thanks, brother. I'm really excited to speak as well.
It's been a really, really busy 2 years. A lot of things have changed.
Yes.
Uh, and I've witnessed the amount of, uh, crazy stuff that happened. The great work that Israel did, eliminating Hezbollah, destroying Bashar al-Assad, destroying Hamas. Israel did a big favor for the Arab world, even if they do not want to admit it publicly, but they all know that.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of Arabs that are sort of waking up to it slowly behind the scenes. But obviously, in the Arab world, like pro-Israel opinion and narrative is very oppressed, and you're not really allowed to speak about these things openly. But just in my community alone, I'm getting messages from hundreds of Arabs all over the world in the last couple of years, support of Israel, that love Israel, that appreciate the work that I'm doing, and it's very very heartwarming. Like, to me, the only reason I get up and do what I do every day is for the Arabs. It's for the Arab world. Dedicate my work for the Arab world. Everybody else who comes in is secondary.
I think it's very important. I think the biggest issue that we have as Arabs, we never spoken to an Israeli before. We don't know how
Right.
they are. We don't know the truth. It's just a propaganda after propaganda for 70 years.
Yeah.
So just breaking this taboo and talking to Israeli will change a lot of people's minds. And what happened in politics in the last few years, it was really crazy. I remember in 2021, I wrote an article and I said we should declare the Palestinians as an enemy and truly have peace with Israel and fight against the Palestinians. A Lebanese newspaper published my article, and in Jordan, they had a protest in one of the biggest colleges there against me, and literally no one agreed with me at the time. Now you could see my accounts, hundreds of thousands of views. I would literally say 80% of Jordanians are agreeing with me. So things have changed since the terrorist attack that happened in October 7th. I think God punished the Palestinians in the best way, where He made them fall in the trap that they wanted the Jews to fall in.
I think
Uh,
the thing is the Arab world is also, for how, in my opinion, stupid Arabs pursue their political desires, financial desires, societal development. For how stupid that seems, Arabs are not stupid people. Like, no, I will not allow anybody to speak like that disparagingly about Arab people. So I think when Arabs look at the last year and they look at what has happened in the Arab world, the fall of these regimes, Iran being exposed for the monster that it is, the IRGC, not the Iranian people.
of course, yeah.
Arabs are waking up and they're like, man, I just want to live my life. I don't want to be a part of this monstrous jihadist Islamist movement. I'm not interested. I want to raise my family. I want to make money. I want to have kids. I want to eat. I want to drink. I want to sleep at night. I don't want to be wondering about bombs. Like people in Lebanon are like Lebanese people don't even really, they don't even really subscribe to the idea of being an Arab fully, and they've been dragged into this Middle Eastern conflict by a proxy that's tied to Iran and Islamism in the worst way possible. And I think that a lot of Arabs are looking at the world around them and the changing Middle East, and they're able to see that, like, hey, this is not the narrative I want to be a part of anymore. I want to move forward.
And I think what the Palestinians did, and they mastered this. They're very good at manipulation, very good at shifting the narrative. They made the issue as an Arab versus Israeli, which is not true. Because even the Arabs inside the Arab world, everybody has a different identity and
Right.
different goals and different values. And I speak me as a Jordanian. Today is the 10th anniversary of what ISIS did to the Jordanian pilot. And I remember after when they podcast the awful killing of the Jordanian pilot. I don't know if you remember when they burned him alive.
Was he one of the people that was tied up and they burnt him alive when he
No,
was
he was
tied up?
alone inside a cage and they let him in
Oh
fire.
yes, of course, of
And I
course.
remember when that happened in Jordan, the Palestinians were happy because, they said, oh, ISIS is defeating America. But the Jordanians were so mad, were so mad and united, and they were really, really like that. That made a shift point in the Jordanian identity, where we started seeing we were the only Arab or the only Muslim nation that actually looked at ISIS as an enemy, because they killed the Jordanian pilot who's a Jordanian. He's not a Palestinian with citizenship. He's a Jordanian, and they took him. They burned him alive, and he's a Muslim, and that changed the Jordanian society. We started looking at ISIS and radical Islamists and Muslim Brotherhood and all these Islamist groups as the enemy of Jordan, as a society base. I remember at the time, even like Salafists and people with long beard, they wouldn't go publicly in the streets because people were very hostile to them. I remember how like the narrative switched in Jordan, and I was really glad that the Jordanians have this unique thing among Arabs where they are the only ones who value nationality and nation pride over religion. You would go and ask you would go and ask a Palestinian, who's closest to you, a Christian Palestinian or a Syrian Muslim? They'll be a Syrian Muslim. Or you go and ask a Syrian, who's closest to you, a Pakistani Muslim or your Syrian Shia? They would say, no, the Pakistani. But if you go to Jordania and you ask him, who's closer to you, a Palestinian Muslim or a Jordanian Christian? They will see, of course, the Jordanian Christian. I'm pretty sure you know this, but a lot of people don't. We had a war against the Palestinians in 1970.
Yep.
We hosted the Palestinians, we gave them weapons, we trained them, and the first thing that they did, attack Jordanian civilians, and they tried to take over the country. At that time, the Jordanians saw that the quote-unquote Muslim Palestinians who were united with us, they started putting the guns towards us and shooting at us, while the Christians and the Druze in Jordan fought with the Jordanians against the Palestinians.
I
So
always
I
tell
think
people
this is,
the narrative that I think where we all messed up with Palestinians is giving them and enforcing and emboldening this identity of Palestinian. Like that's the reality. I'm not saying that Palestinians don't exist today, because they do. Anybody who calls himself a Palestinian is a Palestinian. But in reality, what does it mean to be a Palestinian? Who is a Palestinian?
well, the Palestinian identity, and this is very unique. It's the only identity in the Middle East that was built as a reaction. So when you say
Correct.
you're Palestinian, it's a reaction to hating the Jews,
Correct.
hating
And so I
Israel.
I always counter
That's why
people
it's
by
impossible to have peace. It's
and
impossible to
I
have peace
always
with
counter people
Palestinians.
by I always ask them, define to me what a Palestinian is. Who
Yeah.
is a Palestinian? Because in the narrative of 1948 of the Nakba, the people say that the Palestinians were Jews also. But how come those Palestinian Jews did not have a right to pray at the Western Wall? Why did those Palestinian Jews, why were they not treated equally to the Muslims? And then I always ask them, what about the Afro Palestinians, the Afro Bedouins, the Afro Gazans, who right now in Gaza are treated as Al Abid, and they live in a neighborhood called Al Abid, also known as the slave neighborhood? Why are those people also Palestinian? And so I always ask, when you tell an Ethiopian Jew to go back to where they came from, right? Because they come from Africa. And that's the narrative that the pro-Palestine side always sends. Are you also going to tell the Afro-Palestinians to go back to Africa, or it's okay because they're Muslim? How about a group that nobody talks about called the Domari? I don't know if you know who they are. Almost nobody knows about them. They're a group originally, they're known as the Gypsies of Palestine, and they were brought here with the Ottomans around 400, 500 years ago, and they all converted to Islam. They were Christians, but most of them genetically, they come from South Asia. They're Indians. Indians, Bengalis,
Yeah,
Pakistanis,
yeah, yeah.
somewhere in South Asia.
Nowhere in Arabic.
People look at me all the time and say, "Go back to India." I'm not Indian at all. I have no Indian blood in me. I'm 100% Mesopotamian Jew. But people look at me, they say, "Go back to India." So I say, in the same beat, are you also telling the Domaris of Palestine to go back to India?
Well,
So
I'm pretty sure if you know the culture in the Arab world, every family can track their lineage. Every single Palestinian family will track their lineage to majority to Aleppo in Syria or
right,
Lebanon or Egypt. So every single family, I challenge any Palestinian to give me a one family name that tracks to the Canaanites, that track to a Jewish tribe. Every single one of them either goes back to Yemen or Egypt or Aleppo, Lebanon, or in an example, Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, he's Persian. He's even Baha'is. He's not a Muslim. He
That
speaks,
I didn't know that. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
he speaks Persian too.
I'll tell
And
you, the one exception is the Palestinians who live in Nablus, in Shechem. Actually, genetically, a lot of these people are Judean. So when I spent time with the Samaritans, they took me into Nablus and to go explore
oh, but
as
the
like a
Samaritans are there from 3,000 years ago. Yeah, no one disagreeing.
correct.
Yeah, yeah,
But
even
you know,
there's yeah.
when the Arabs came in, they force converted a lot of Samaritans. So the population of Nablus, there are Muslim Arab women there who light candles on Shabbat and have dietary restrictions of kashrut, and they don't know why they do it. And that to me is the most amazing thing in the world because in the same beat, Nablus is known as the lion's den. It is like one of the main cores of jihad, like violent Islamic jihad of Palestine. And and in the same exact beat, a lot of these people do have Jewish roots. And look, I know that there's a differing of opinion with Palestinians, that people do believe that a lot of them came from different places. And for sure there are. Like there's last names Al Masri, there's last names Al Halabi, there's last name Al Kuwaiti, there's last names of Al Halili and or not Halili, Al Hijazi, and they do have last names coming from different places.
No,
But
no.
I do
Oh
believe
yeah,
that there's
yeah.
a there's a
Of
high
course, like
percentage of them that are
you can't get
Jews.
everybody out. Yeah, you can't get
Yeah, I
everybody out.
think a lot of Palestinians are Jews, especially the ones in the West Bank. I think their DNA, a lot of them are Jewish people. And that to me is one of the reasons why I believe in this idea of forced coexistence. I don't want Palestinians to go anywhere. I want them with me. I want to grab them by the shirt. You're with me forever. You succeed if I succeed. I succeed if you succeed. We can't do this without each other. Why? Because Allah made it so. We are inseparable. We're inseparable, Palestinians and Jews. We're meant to grow together. But I always give people this analogy as Israelis, as Jewish people, we've looked at Palestinian culture, and it's like when you have a friend growing up who's like into drugs or into alcohol, or he loses his path in life. What does a bad friend do? A bad friend looks at that friend and lets him keep messing up, keep doing the bad thing over and over again. A good friend, he takes that person and he lifts him up with him. I think as Israel, as Jewish people, we've been trying to be a good friend, but we've been a bad friend. We've never really forced the Palestinians to be better. We've
Well,
just kind of
I
allowed
don't
them.
think. Here's why I think you're a little too optimistic, and here's I think why this thing will never happen. I
Yeah,
told you when the Palestinian identity got created, and every identity in the region got created recently. No one used to call themselves Israelis. No one called themselves Jordanians. No one called
correct.
themselves Saudis. It is all recent. But the thing that differentiates between every other nation, the Middle East and Palestine, is the Palestinians said, we are not the Israelis. We are the people who the Israelis kicked out. So when you build your identity based on being anti-Israel, you cannot have peace with Israel, because if you
Right.
said, okay, let's coexist, you're giving up your identity, and that's not going to happen. This is the issue. I think it's too late now. It's too late to fix this issue. And I'm going to be honest, I'm more conservative than you, less optimistic. I think you as an Israeli and me as a Jordanian, we obviously do not want our kids to live where there's a high possibility of war every single year. Uh, the Palestinians made their bed, they have to sleep in it now. They got multiple chances to have peace. Very recent ones too. They had even had ones in 2008, and they still refused. So I think the only solution we could have, and I've talked to this in Arabic and in English, the only solution we could have is for the Arab nations to come with Israel, recognize Judea and Samaria as, as Israel. So Israel now has full control there. The PLO doesn't exist anymore. The PA doesn't exist anymore. And now you have 2.1 million Palestinians inside Judea and Samaria, and you have 1.5 in Gaza. Here's what should happen. The more radical ones, they're not going to get an ID. So they get two choices. They either live without an ID, so they can't get a bank account, they can't get married, they can't get a driver license because, they are not an Israeli citizens. And the Israeli constitution does not guarantee them the right of a citizenship. So they will not get citizenship. So they could live there with all the restrictions, or they could relocate voluntarily to 70 different countries. You cannot take all the Palestinians at once, send them to one country. They will destabilize the country. It will be a massive, no one will agree. But if you go to 70 different countries and you tell Indonesia, for example, they're a Muslim nation, they have 200 million people. You tell them, look, you will take 150,000 Palestinians in the span of 10 years, so 15,000 each year, and you will get a loan from the International World Bank in exchange of taking the Palestinians. All the 70 different countries will agree in Indonesia, Malaysia, and then you could put options for people who are religious. They could go to Afghanistan, they could go to Yemen, and people who are not religious, they could go to Colombia, they could go to Ecuador. Now, what is the proportion of these people? The people who have a criminal record, the people who have ties to Hamas, the people who have ties to terrorist groups, 70, 85% of the people, and then the good 20% people who could coexist with Israel, they will just get an Israeli citizenship, and now the issue will be gone. So they will start asking about their history. Why am I lighting candles? Why I have these dietary restrictions? But now there's no tension because instead of 2.1 million people who are very prompted to fight Israel, now you have 300,000 who who want to be there just to live good and coexist with Israel and be nice and be Israelis.
I'll tell you,
I
bro.
think this is the best
I
solution we could have.
agree. I agree to a certain extent. Actually, presentation wise, this you're the closest I've ever heard to what I actually believe should happen and is going to happen. This is the closest I've ever heard, but not 100% there in my opinion. There's some things I
Go ahead,
disagree
yeah.
with. One, I
Let's
disagree. I agree with the concept that we should have full sovereignty over the West Bank. I don't believe in a Palestinian state. Like, I don't see any justification morally as a global society, humanity, for us to create another Arab ethno state and
well,
another Islamic.
but Arab is not a. I don't think that's the reason. I will tell you why. As a Jordanian, I disagree with the Palestinian state. It's a threat to Jordan. You'll be like, what? Yeah, it's a threat to Israel, but how it is it a threat to Jordan? The next day, we establish a state for the Palestinians. They will bring the Iranians. They will build tunnels.
Right.
They will
Yeah.
smuggle weapons, smuggle drugs, and
Yeah.
start causing problems for Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, and Israel. The
Yeah.
next day, we will have a terrorist state
Yeah.
controlled by terrorists.
Yeah.
So it's a high security risk. We cannot give them sovereignty.
So
It's a suicide mission.
I like it because you think very pragmatically, logically, and I think what I'm offering here is like more of the ethos, and I like it. I like when somebody thinks very logically. I'm also trying to look. I also try to look at this. I believe in God. I know you
Spiritually,
believe in.
yeah.
I believe in God. I
Honestly, yeah.
believe that this region. I believe that you cannot remove God from the region. I don't believe
Oh
that
yeah,
you can remove
yeah.
Allah
People
from the
don't know this.
equation. And when we try to think logically only, it also doesn't make sense because this whole region is not logical. Everything that happens here happens with God's intervention, in my opinion. And so and I like that you think very logically and you're thinking about things pragmatically. Where my perspective comes from, I think about the ethical, right? Ethically, it's not correct to make another Arab state. There are what, 22 Arab states, and there's another 50 Muslim countries. There is no justification to making another one, especially if you know that that state is not going to be open minded. It is not going to be inclusive to ethnic minorities. It is not going to protect other people that are Jewish or Christian or Druze. You know that it will be for Muslims and Muslims only, and for Arabs and Arabs only. And if
But
somebody
the
doesn't,
Palestinians could say they're not an Arab, so Canaanites. So they could say this tomorrow, and they could
so
write
I
in
don't
the
believe that.
Constitution.
I don't believe that they're
Yeah,
Arabs.
but this is they could do this. This is why I
Correct.
think I think Israel has the right to Judea and Samaria. Let's be honest. I think
I
Israel has the right
agree.
to this place. It will be better served there too. And morally, if the 70%, the radical ones who love Hamas, love the attacks, they're bad for their families. Let's be honest. They're bad for their kids. They're bad for
Yep.
families. They're bad for themselves. You gotta save them from themselves. So when you relocate them outside of Israel, outside of the Middle East, there is no their ego doesn't
So
get hurt.
that's where my difference is with you, is about the relocation thing. I've heard about the relocation thing a million times from a million different people have brought up this idea of relocating, moving Palestinians. If I think of it logically, I don't think it's possible. Like, I don't think that the international community, who does unfortunately hold Israel by its arms, and Israel cannot operate 100% independently. I don't even think with the Trump administration that's something that will fly, because you know that the day that something like that happens, even if it's the most ethical and they're safe the entire way and
Yeah,
they're
but
getting
we're not forcing them to go. But here's the difference. If
again,
Israel,
but
I agree with you. If Israel is
in the
alone,
media and the international community will flip it, and the first day that it happens, Israel will be they're ethnically cleansing,
yeah, but
genocide,
look,
this and
no, but here's because I've talked to multiple Jordanian politicians about it, and multiple American and Israeli politicians about it. And here's how it's going to do. It's going to be a peace deal between the Arabs and the Israelis, Saudi, Jordan, UAE, Morocco. And here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a long-term plan. It's not. Here's what's going to happen.
correct.
It's not going to be like you have to leave. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to be like, oh, you do this land is for Israel. The same way that did you notice that have you noticed that Syria kicked out 2 million Iranians outside of Syria
Yeah,
since December 8th? That's what's gonna happen. You just tell them, look, you tell the Palestinians in a very nice way. It's not just the reason why there's still terrorism, there's still fight, because the Arabs are still treating Palestinians like kids and still giving the Palestinians
but
hope
listen,
of
brother,
eliminating Israel.
you're looking at it as if this was an equal non anti-Semitic world. We don't operate on that frequency.
Well, Jordan
Like,
could do it.
but we're not allowed to do it. Israel is not treated
Yeah, but
fairly
it's
in the
not gonna
world.
be. It's not gonna be an Israeli
It
decision. It's
will.
gonna be
That's the problem. It
no.
will
But,
be.
well,
Nobody in the world is going to look at it and be like, this is Saudi doing it. They're going to listen. During this war, Egypt has been blockading, shooting, and murdering Palestinians, especially in the beginning of the war. It was almost every day. Now they're bribing Palestinians $10,000 just to make it across the border. Egypt, their neighbor, they don't get any press coverage, any sanctions, any
yeah,
UN.
but Israel is gonna get attacked anyway. You guys are not gonna lose anything. And if
But
you do it with
so
your neighbors, it's easy. Here's what's gonna happen. So
wait. I
you
want to
tell
finish
me.
this thought. I want to finish this thought because
Yeah.
it's important. Like, I think that the difference is that I don't think we can do that. Like, just like Syria can kick out 2 million Persians from their country, Iranians, we're not allowed. We're not offered that
You
same
guys did it though. You
opportunity.
guys did it.
Sorry.
You guys did it multiple times.
Yeah, but we're not. But we're not offered that. Like, we're not. We're not going to be allowed to do something like that. Like, we literally will
It
not be
did
offered
happen
that
though.
opportunity.
It did happen in 48, and it did happen in 67 in a similar way.
Not really. Like, I mean, 48, whatever is termed as the Nakba, was an active war. You know, like it wasn't like
But here's but
but
you
wait,
think
that's the
yeah.
point that I'm getting into right now. Is I think that your solution is there, but I think it's 50% wrong because I think that we won't be able to do it without a war. I think that when you
Why?
declare sovereignty over the West Bank, I think you're immediately going to have a civil war between Israelis and Palestinians. It's just what's going to happen.
No,
And I think
but
that
he's
war
okay.
I think that war is inevitable. Like that war is coming for us right now whether we like it or not.
Oh yeah.
Palestinians in Nablus, in Ramallah, in Hebron,
Janine,
in Jenin, in Tulkarem, they are gearing up for a war with Israel. All the settlers in the West Bank, all the Jews in the West Bank, they know this, and they're preparing arms. That civil war is going to start. We're just waiting for it. Like they've been planning on October 7th in the West Bank for a while now. In my opinion, the smartest thing to do, declare sovereignty over the West Bank, fight the war on our terms. We instigate the war first. We be the aggressor. And send a message not just to the Palestinians, but to the whole Arab world. Stop effing with Israel. Have the final
well,
war.
who's open with Israel in the Arab world from other than Palestinians, other than the Shia, other than the Iranian allied country? Saudi isn't, UAE isn't, Jordan isn't,
Yeah,
even
but
now Syria isn't.
the populations of these countries are
But the population of America doesn't like Israel anymore. It's. I think it's blown out of
for
statistics.
different
I don't think
reasons
it's
though.
as. Yeah, I don't think it's as realistic. I don't think people hate Israel as much as you think. Look, I'll tell you.
I'm open to being wrong about
Yeah,
that, but at the moment, I engage with a lot of Arabs every single day, and I really do get their opinions on like I try to have deep conversations with them about these things, both Arabs in the West and Arabs in the Middle East. And the Arabs of the Middle East, it's more of a mixed bag. I agree with you. I
the
agree
West are
with you
more
that
radicals. We're
The
not gonna
West is more
disagree on
radical. I
that.
agree. The ones in the Arab world are like, I think the ones in the Arab world are a little bit more confused on it. But the problem in the Arab world, and what I'll say is, it's generational anti-Semitism. It's generational hatred of
Yeah,
Jewish people,
I don't disagree with this, but here's the
and
thing:
some, yeah,
like, how would I tell the Jordanians this is good for Jordan? Look, do Jordanians have high anti-Semitism? Yeah, every Muslim nation does. Not gonna
yeah,
disagree. But this is how I talk to them for Israel. I tell them, look, in 1927, we built the first electric station in Jordan. You know who built it? An Israeli businessman and Israeli engineers. Jews came, lived there for 3 years, built the station, and left. Nothing bad happened. We benefited. Now they were like, okay, like, yeah, like, I love my country more than I hate Israel. The only people who do not have this concept are the Palestinians. You go to the Saudis, you tell them, look, we could do these more things that could be beneficial for your kids and your family, but you have to work with Israel. 80% of the people will say yes, and it's not going to be a problem. The only people who hate Israel more than they love their kids are the Palestinians. The
correct.
Palestinians would choose the fall of Israel before they choose their family. So that's the difference. So I don't think you have an issue with the Arab world. And you got to keep in mind, you go to the Arabs. You ask Kuwaiti what he thinks about Iraq, and Iraqi what he thinks about Syria. They will say vile stuff, and they will say, "Well, it's a violent
Right,
culture."
right. Yes. Yes.
It is a violent culture, you know. So
Yeah,
you don't have to take it as serious, and it's not like it's a democracy where democracy is not going to work here because people have
I
high
agree.
egos, and people have high egos, and it's
I
not
agree.
rational. So I do not see any issues coming towards Israel in the future. If we solve the Palestinian issue, people will start treating Israel as they treat Armenia and they treat Turkey and they treat Greece as like a Middle Eastern country who have a similar culture to us, but they more open minded. That's exactly how people are going to see Israel.
I think that's a bit optimistic, to be honest with you.
Oh, I already see it. I already see it. I will tell you a story. I made a big campaign in Jordan to extradite Ahlam Tamimi, the girl that did the bombing for the
Yeah,
pizzeria. Over 100,000 Jordanians signed to it. They start talking about it, posting everywhere. It got big. They said, why are we hosting a Palestinian terrorist instead of focusing on making Jordan better? Those are college students, those are just Jordanians from the people. But here's the issue that we have with the governments. The governments, any liberal that goes and talk good about Israel, the government throw them in jail, and the governments in the Middle East are allowing the Muslim Brotherhoods, they are allowing the radicals to go to colleges and teach people. You know why? Because for a dictator, it's better to tell the West, oh, look, these guys are crazy. I'm protecting you from these guys. So don't replace me because I'm corrupt. That's the thing for the leadership in most of the Middle Eastern countries. They would rather to have a nation that's very radical, looks very bad to the West, and he would look like the protector uh, from these guys, and he will seem irreplaceable. So he doesn't want the people to change. Look at UAE. UAE changed. Why?
UAE changed.
Because Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and the leadership there wanted the people to change. Trust me,
Right.
any Arab country, if they wanted the people to change, in less than 6 months they will. But the Arab countries don't because it's very valuable. For like, I'll give you an example in Egypt. It's more valuable for the president of Egypt. He could go to America and Israel, tell them, look, my countrymen will eat you if I'm not there to protect you. That makes him more valuable. That makes
Yeah.
him look irreplaceable. That's why
I
they don't want
wanna
to change it.
I wanna tell you a funny story that happened to me the other day. I was on Omi TV, as I do frequently, and I was speaking to a Saudi guy. And I have this set. I have behind me the Quran. I have like a Jewish book, and I have the
Yeah.
Israeli flag. So they get very confused, and then they see me. They don't really know. And it says matched in Israel. So the guy matches with me, and he goes, "F Israel, I hate Israel, like this." And I calmed down the situation, and I said, Ismani, Habibi, Ismani, please." And then I started telling him, I was like, "You like Palestinians?" He said, "Yes, yes." I was like, "But do you think a Palestinian is equal to you?" And he was like, "What do you mean equal?" I was like, "You and Palestinian are the same." And that's when the whole conversation started turning in my favor. Because
Yeah.
the thing that I really want to clarify this for any Arabs who might be listening. I do not have a problem with Arabs. I don't have a problem with the culture. I don't have a problem with Saudis or with Emiratis. Actually, in fact, I love Arab people because I grew up in an Arabized family. We're Iraqi Jews, so I grew up like an Arab, like most people did. And my mom speaks Arabic. My dad does a little bit. My grandparents do. I grew up eating Arab dishes or whatever people believe are Arab dishes. So it doesn't come from a place of hate. What I'm about to say. But I know that the Arab world is extremely racist one towards another.
That
And
is
I
true. Yeah.
use that in conversations to switch it into my perspective all the time. So I was talking this to the Saudi guy and I told him, "I know, Habibi, that you do not believe for one moment that a Palestinian is equal to you." And he said, "Wallah, you're right."
Yeah.
And I said, "I think a Palestinian is equal to me. I love the Palestinians. You don't. You're just pretending to because you've been told you need to." And then I told him, "Do you think a Palestinian is equal to you in Islam? Do you think a Palestinian is a Muslim like you are, like a real Muslim?" He told me no. I
Oh
said,
yeah, the
"Why?"
Palestinians are not that religious too.
So,
The Palestinians have a different way. They think if you're violent, that's better than being a good Muslim who
right.
practice worshiping
Like
God.
implementing the
You
actual,
could see the
yeah.
difference with the curse words, and they cheat and steal, and they don't think that's a bad thing, as long as they could kill Jews. So there is a really, really sick thing. But I want to tell you, the Arab culture have been very vile the last 10 years after social media. And it's not just towards Israeli. I mean, as a Jordanian, if I go talk to a Syrian, the vile stuff that they would say, and they'd be like,
Oh
these
yeah.
guys raised in a, like, it's insane. These guys are just like have no manners. And they hate,
Well,
I would think that they will
I
kill
always tell
Jordanians.
Arabs, I think the Jews are just catching strays because, like, when it comes to Arab on Arab violence or Muslim on Muslim violence, I mean, Muslims are killing each other in the millions every year, all over the world. Muslim on
It's
Muslim
not just the
violence.
violence, it's just how, like, when they attack Israel, when they say bad stuff about Israel, I don't think they will act on it. Not all of them,
Right.
not the majority of them. So I don't think you have to worry about it. I'm telling you. Look, I was like before October 7th. Yeah, the majority of the people thought the Palestinian. Here's how people looked at it. Before October 7th, they said, you know what? Palestinians are bad. They're horrible, but Israelis are worse. And then after what happened in Syria, when Iran started killing Syrians, and we saw all these videos of torturing Syrians and Iraqis because they're Sunnis, people started looking at Iran as like, oh, Iran is worse than Israel. And then after October 7th, where people saw the leadership of Hamas, the leadership of the Palestinians praising the Iranians, they said, oh, actually, now the Palestinians are worse than the Israelis
They're on
because
their
they're in the
own now.
Iranian camp.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this is a bit like we could work on, like, you'll be, I'm telling you, like, if you went to Jordan, you just visited it. No one will attack you, no one will hate you. Actually, people will host you in their homes. They will be so
I've
nice to
been
you,
to
you'll be shocked.
Jordan. I actually been to Jordan. It was a couple of years ago though. And I did experience anti-Semitism based not on the fact that I was Israeli, on the fact that I was Jewish because I didn't say that I was Israeli. But I did on multiple occasions when I was there. I was only there for 3 days.
Yeah, if
When I
you meet the
told people,
Palestinians, yeah.
yeah, I mean, this was actually in the south. This was like I didn't go up to Amman. I just was in
You went to
between,
Petra?
yeah, Petra and Wadi Rum area. But there was a disdain for Israelis. There is a disdain for Israelis, and there's a disdain for Jewish people. Now,
Yeah, I'm not denying, you know, we have an issue, especially in religion. Like, I would say 40% of Muslims actually believe Jews are the descendant pigs and monkeys. Like, actually believe it. Like,
yeah,
if you go and ask a Muslim, like, are Jews from Adam or are they from pigs and monkeys? Out of 10, 4 would say they are out of pigs and monkeys. They would actually believe this is insanity. Like, you'll be like, oh, like, these guys are, like, it's insane. It's ridiculous. It's unhealthy. It's really ridiculous, and it's at the standard of the culture. It shows you how bad humans could be. But I think the reason why this is the case is because we do not talk to the Israelis,
right,
and everything that we see about here's what the Palestinians do. That's this is why people really hate Israel is the Palestinian propaganda. the right wing in Israel, they do not want to say the word Palestinian because they think it like it makes them a special
Right.
people. So they use the word Arab, but they mean the Palestinians when they say it. The Palestinians will like take videos of like very radical Jews saying like we're gonna kill all the Arabs or I'm gonna kill the Arab kid, and then they translate this. You see, they're all our enemies. They don't know that the Israelis. They don't know basically. First of all, they don't know these guys are like 1% of the Jewish people. Like it's not a prominent voice.
Yeah.
But these are the
And
only
also
videos
they
that we see.
pretend, the Palestinians pretend as if Arabs are going to stand together against these like that's not happening either. There's no cohesion between all the groups of Arabs. Like,
No, but here's what the Palestinians do. So you know how like Arabs have big ego.
yeah,
They tell the like they see, oh, okay, hate us, we're bad, we're Palestinians, we're bad, but look what the Israelis are saying about you.
yeah,
And then the Arab was like, oh, why are they saying they want to kill my kid? Why are they saying I'm fucking, that's that. They're very good at manipulating. And
very good.
as soon as they talk to an Israel and see them as humans, and see like we have identical culture, identical, this thing breaks. Because I've did this with a lot of Jordanians. Like the amount of hate that I used to get when I started, it was insane. Now, the change that I've seen is insane. It's really insane. I had
And I'll
a
tell you, bro,
TikTok live.
it's so sad that like it's sad to me. I don't want to live in this world in the current context the way we are. I'm fighting to change it because I think it's so sad that I grew up with my parents having to warn me from danger of being hurt or killed by Muslims and Arabs. I've been to the UAE and I've been to Egypt, I've been to Jordan. I believe those are the three Arab countries I've been to, and Muslim countries I've been to. Or Muslim, I've also been to Kosovo and to parts of Albania. Are you still here?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Your camera turned off. Um, so I find it really, really sad, this reality that when I was in Muslim countries, besides the UAE, because I felt safe there, but like
oh, the UAE is what we want to all be like.
when I
This
was
is
in
my
Jordan
goal.
and in Egypt, I felt like wala haram, because I should, as a Jew, I should be able to like go up to any Arab anywhere in the world and be like, "You're my family," like
Exactly.
I'm. I expect you to protect me, and vice versa. If an Arab comes here, I'll die for him, because it's an honor for me to have an Arab visiting my land. But like, I feel like instead of my friends who go to Egypt and they get harassed because they're Jewish, and they get anti-Semitic slurs, or my friend who she went to Morocco and they find out she's Israeli, they try to choke her. I have friends who are YouTubers who travel around the Arab world, and we all have experienced anti-Semitism by Arabs. I wonder, when are we going to live in a reality where Arabs are going to look out for me, they're going to treat me like their son, like their brother.
This is
They're going to take me under their wing and they're going to say,
yeah.
Habibi, you're my family. I'm going to
I
protect
I
you no
I
matter
I
what.
I think the UAE is at that level. I think people are changing. This is why in all my videos when I talk about Israel, I don't sugarcoat it. I say we have to admit it that we were worse as Arabs. We were worse than Israelis. This is why I was still be honest. It's not 50-50, it's not both sides. We were worse than the Israelis. We have to apologize to them, and we have to do more effort to convince them that we changed. I'm not going to ask you to just believe that we changed if we do not work and prove that we did. Because the experiences that the Jews have seen from the Arabs, especially the neighboring countries, are really bad.
Yeah,
But it could change. It could change, and I think the Israelis really want peace.
we
If
really
if
do.
we walk
It's the
10
biggest
steps
thing we want,
to
man.
peace, you guys will walk 90. Yeah, you guys will get like if we show a good gesture, you guys will do way much more. Well, we just have to do the first move,
Yeah.
and
We
I think
want
it's
we want
going
it
that
so
way.
badly too, because like, man, this region, I always, when I talk to Arabs like you, who like I can see a brother in, I can see family, and I know that if you and I were together right now in person, we'd be hugging each other, we'd be having a good
Yeah,
time, we'd be
yeah,
best
yeah,
friends. Because there's a connection there that I won't have with anybody else in the world between me and an Arab.
yeah. It's
I
a Middle
always tell
Eastern
people
thing.
this. It's a
Armenians have
thing.
it.
I
Armenians
can't
have it.
explain it to anybody else. Me and you have a connection that nobody else in the world will ever have.
Yeah,
But the thing is, it's such a shame because I really believe that this region can be The coolest place in the world. We have tropical, we have deserts, we have money, we have oil, we have the most amazing region in the world. We've been blessed with the history of civilization here. We have every group, every culture, every music, every color skin, and we're freaking destroying it. We're just ruining it. We're killing each other.
You know what breaks my heart?
America pales in comparison to us.
Yeah,
Canada
yeah.
pales in comparison to us. Australia, they
Even
don't even
Europe.
come close to what we could have in the Middle East. It could be
You
the
know
most
what's so
amazing
sad?
region in the world.
You know what's so sad? When I think about Aleppo or Damascus, such a beautiful cities with beautiful
Yeah.
music, but we can't go there. And like, and I've talked to a lot of Syrians and I've talked to a lot of Jordanians. I think it will come a day where Jews will go back to Damascus, have a summer home there, have a summer home in Aleppo where their grandparents live. In Iraq, it'll be the same way. But I think Syria is
Inshallah.
going there faster. I think, no, I think Syria, Jordan, Saudi are going there faster. Iraq is harder because they have their Shia, they're very allied with Iran. It's harder.
Yeah.
But trust me, in 20 years, you'll be surprised how the relationship between Syria and Israel is. And even with, I think if we solve the Palestinian problem, it will take us less than a year to solve all the problems. It will take, to normalize relationship with every Arab country, it will take less than a year. It's just, we have this Palestinian problem that people outside the region are funding, people in the West are using to get more followers, to get more money, to feel cooler in the communities and societies. And we are sacrificing our livelihood to satisfy the sick craving of attention that a Palestinian girl has in America. And it's very sad,
Yeah.
you know?
It really is.
But I'm telling you, I think that it's not a relocation if the Palestinians leave voluntarily, and if the Arabs agree to dissolve the Palestinian Authority with Israel, Spain and Ireland, they want to complain, they could bring their ships and come fight us. You know, I think this is how, I think that the way that we should do it, and this is, I'm seeing this as a Jordanian to an Israeli. I think Jordan and Israel should solve the issue with the Palestinians. And if someone doesn't like it, we could give them the Palestinians. Because I'm not going to sacrifice the livelihood of my kids, the safety of the people in Jordan, because people think this is mean. You know, the Palestinians are adults, they made their choice, they have destroyed it. The Associated Press did a poll in November 1st. 90% of the Palestinians approved of October 7th a week
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
And at the time, the news was 40 beheaded babies, all the killings, all the stuff. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. At the time, that was the true thing. And 90% of them agreed. There's no, I cannot, this is what I tell Jordanians. I cannot ask in a good conscience to ask the Israelis to agree to have a Palestinian state at their border. Apparently so. Because you cannot ask the Israelis to do it in a good conscience because this is suicide. When people go do barbaric attacks and commit so many crimes against you and celebrate it, and then they say they want to do it 1,000 times, if you just give them a state, you just, it's just a suicide wish.
Yeah. No, they absolutely they've I agree with this notion of that they're adults, they've messed up, and now they got to pay for it. And unfortunately, yes, the kids and the women, they also have to technically pay for it. I mean, the adults
But
made
let's be
that
honest, the kids and the women are part of the people who attack
they're
people's
part of the
stuff.
problem.
The
Correct.
women are really happy about it. So
Yeah.
it's
And you you have
here's
to
the
hold
thing.
them accountable. You can't they can't keep going on they can't keep going on absolved of all the problems that they've made in this world and in the Middle East. They have to there has to be a lesson learned by the Palestinian people or they're never going to grow up. And I think this is one of the main issues with them is that they no matter what I was watching a video yesterday that said definitively Hamas has never lost a war. And from the narrative of Hamas, that is
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
true. And from all the proxies of the Islamic regime of Iran, the Houthis, whenever we finish whatever is going on with us with the Houthis, they're not going to say that they lost, even though thousands of their people are going to die. Their cities are going to burn. All this horrible stuff is going to happen to them. Because they were able to launch a couple missiles into Israel and kill a few people here, they're going to say it's a victory. And same thing with Hezbollah, same thing with Hamas. Even if we finish Hamas tomorrow,
Bin
all the
Laden thought
hostages
that
are
he
home.
won. People thought
Huh?
Bin Laden won. People tell Bin Laden
Not
no.
only that,
People
what
tell Al
Sinwar,
Qaeda one.
I interviewed, I don't know if you saw my interview with that lady from Gaza, but I
Oh yeah,
interviewed
yeah.
the
She's
lady.
happy. She's proud. She's like,
She's
I'm proud.
happy, and I didn't set that up. She came to my DMs.
Oh,
She
I
asked
know the
me for money
Palestinians,
for her
so I
children,
know. Yeah.
and I just messaged her, call me. And that was the conversation we had. I do this to every Gazan that hits me up. Every Gazan that sends me a message in my DMs, I say, call me. Because I want to have a conversation with them to understand where they stand. Almost every single one that I spoke to is supportive of Hamas, is supportive of Sinwar, is supportive of Hania, and they don't know that I'm filming them. They don't know that I'm recording the conversations. They're just
Yeah.
saying it because it's truly who they are. I will agree that since the
That's what they
war,
were saying in Arabic. Yeah. That's what they were saying in Arabic. Yeah.
I'll say that since the war has progressed, I think that a lot of them have maybe learned and have changed their opinions slightly because surveys have come out recently saying that the support of October 7th and the support of the Hamas has definitely started to wean a little bit
But
because
I'll tell
they're
you, look, here's the thing. If this is 100% true, if a Palestinian tells you, "Oh, I don't agree with October 7th," it's not he doesn't agree with it because it was barbaric. He doesn't agree with it because the punishment was high. No one's
right,
saying, "Oh,
right,
this is a
right,
bad thing because you killed
right,
innocent people." Like not,
correct.
none of them.
But you know what? Arab friends of mine have told me that the only way that you can actually change that is by the punishment unfortunately having to get harder and harder
But
and harder.
I think this is would work with Egypt. This is would work with Egypt. If you crush
Yeah.
Egypt, they will be like, "Okay, I have to be rational." With Palestinians, it's impossible because their identity is built on being anti-Israeli. The only way to change this identity, 70% of them have to be relocated. 30% of them, where they are very, very small minority, they can be okay. Now we could be more rational and study history and let's be realistic and try to survive and be a part of the Israeli society. Look at the Arabs inside Israel. Yeah, they have a high crime rate. They still have a lot of problems, but they're better than Gazans and better than the people in the West Bank because they have less of this society pressure of being a Palestinian. Because when you say you're Palestinian, it's just like, oh, you are people like your parents brought you to life to fight the Jews.
Yeah.
And this is not in any other Arab nation. Like it's not like in Jordan. I'll tell you this story from Jordan because we have 3 million Palestinians in Jordan. They all have citizenships, and they all lived in Jordan for 3 generations. When I grew up, when I'm 5, 10 years old, my parents will take me. So, be very generous because, we Arabs, we love being generous, especially, as Bedouins. So when I was a kid, like my parents, my dad will be like, oh, be generous, be the most, the guy who pays for everybody. This is my dream as a kid. You know what the Palestinian families do? They take their kids to the hills in Jordan or the mountains. They point at Israel and they say, oh, this is our land, the Jews kicked us out. And they point at Jordan. Oh, Jordanians help the Israelis to kick you out. We have to kill them after we kill the Israelis. And this is every single family. Like it doesn't matter if he's liberal, if he's Christian, if he's radical
That's
Islamist, if
that's
he's
just
not
their narrative.
religious.
That's their story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what they learn before they learn
Yeah.
religion. So
Yeah.
so religion is based on this. That's why you have the Republic Front, which is an atheist communist group, had 40 fighters on October 7th, even though they were atheists and communists. It's just because the culture is based on, oh, let me kill the Israel. This is how I become a good Palestinian, if I kill Jews. But for the Saudis, yeah, you have to be generous, you have to be nice, you have to save your country. So this is why you could fix your relationship with every single Arab country, but it's impossible with the Palestinians. Not at the current situation, not at the current population, not at the current percentage of people. It's impossible.
I think
And
I
this
agree.
is
I
what
agree with the sentiment that you're saying. I still don't 100% believe in the solution because I still try to look at it from more of a holistic approach. And I think that's just a difference of opinion. And I think that most people are not going to agree with me. But I really do look at it from a spiritual perspective of I really do believe in my heart that Palestinians, a lot of them are Jewish people. I do believe it.
but,
Regardless of the fact
well, uh,
I just think the way I've spent so much time with them, their mannerisms, the way that they act, the way
but
that
I
they
will tell
think.
you, look, there's look. This is the thing about every big Middle Eastern city. We carry the tradition of the city. Even if you came from outside the city, your grandfather came outside the city, he lived there, second generation is fully allied with this culture. It's like America, where you could adapt to the culture. So I think they adapt to the culture because I'll tell you something. In the 1200s, when Salah ad-Din took over, he insisted to switch the demography inside the Holy Land. And 70% of the people who lived in the Holy Land in the 1200s were Turkic and Kurdish from
Right.
East Asia. So in the 1200s, 70% of the people were not Arabs, were not Jews, were not Middle Easterns, they were East Asian Turks that Salah ad-Din brought specifically that could not speak Arabic to live in the Holy Land because he did not want the Arab tribes to fight him. So now no one claims this origin. Like no one says, "Oh, I tracked this Turkish tribe that came in the 1200s." But this tribe was literally the majority of the Holy Land. So where did they go? So they are the majority of the Palestinians. And this is just by science. Like these guys did not go away. There is no other history about like them getting demolished. These guys were 70% of the people before the Jews start coming back in big numbers. So yeah, where did they go now? They are the majority. And this is what happened when they did the DNA test. The majority of them have, they have the highest amount of non-Middle Easterns in the whole Middle Eastern countries, more than even Israel. The Palestinians when they did the DNA test.
Look, but I also I
Some of them,
appreciate
yes, the old neighborhoods,
I
the old
appreciate
neighborhoods, yeah.
that I appreciate that science from that one source, but also, I there's other sources that say a completely different story about Palestinians. There's actually an MIT researcher who I speak to on a regular basis. He's done a whole new hapl group or whatever the heck it's called, DNA thing. I'm not expert, I'm not versed in it, but he has looked thoroughly at the numbers and
I
shown that
did more
actually
than 2,000 tests, and I did more than 2,000 tests in Jordan. There's two kind of DNA tests. There's the test that tests your mom and your dad, and this one is pointless because this one gives you the last 500 years. So a
hmm.
Palestinian could go test and be like 100% from the Holy Land, but this is just for the last 500 years. That doesn't mean you are from there. The test that's more valuable, it's Y700. You should Google it. Y700 is a chromosome Y. It does not change when your dad mixes with your mom. So it's just your dad and his dad and his dad and his dad. This one is the one that doesn't change by time. So this one shows you where you are originally from. When I did my DNA test, I'm J1. Uh, in 3,700, like if we go up 3,700 years ago, me and a lot of Israelis share a grandfather, and a lot of Arab tribes share a grandfather. So that tells, and these guys are Ashkenazi, white with blue eyes, but we have the same grandfather 4,000 years ago. So this is the test that's valuable,
I'll also tell you
That
though,
that
the semantics of like DNA and color skin, it's just, in my
the
opinion, when it
color
comes
skin
to the
doesn't matter in the Middle East, and
like, that's the
this
thing.
is
The
like
Middle East, it's such a
the
stupid
same family had.
conversation. Yeah, it's such a stupid conversation because, like, in Syria, right? And I went to Majd al-Shams after Hezbollah attacked the people there. It was my
I
first time
saw
in
I
Majd
saw the videos.
al-Shams.
Yeah,
So when I went to Majd al-Shams, I was shocked to see that, all the Druze people there, every single one of them has almost light to blonde hair and blue
is white.
eyes,
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful blonde eyes and white skin. But the Druze in the mountains of the Carmel, in Haifa area, all of them have brown eyes, brown hair, and more tan skin. I'm like, that's just one group. Like, that's just one ethnicity. The Palestinians of the East, the Palestinians of the West, the Bedouins, all of us share different colors. I mean, we're in the crossroads of Asia, Africa, and Europe. We're literally in the crossroads, Israel. And so,
And we like Middle Easterns are the only people who did not have a problem with mixed race, like mixed races at
yeah,
the beginning of time.
like when did we
Yeah.
become? It's like 2023. We became these purists of like Arabs are all like this one thing, and
But,
Jews are all
yeah,
this one thing. Like,
and the
what?
word
Since
Arab
when?
doesn't mean anything. The word Arab,
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
if you like Arab means West. It's an old word that called in everybody west of Iraq. So technically, Jews are Arabs, and Assyrians are Arabs, and Armenians are Arabs. Like no, especially if people say all Arabs came from Yemen, all Arabs came from Mecca. They can't tell you why are you using the word Arab to describe them. Not Ishmael. you're using Arab. They don't know because it is a very complicated thing. But I think the issue with the Palestinians is not the origin, it's not their religion, it's not that. It's just like, and I hate this about Israelis. They say, "Oh, the hostages." I don't think it's just the hostages. It's the duty that Israel has to not have people taken again. It's not just the
Yes.
hostages that are taken. It's just
Yes.
every civilian that lives in Israel now. If you allow Hamas to stay, you're risking his life. You're risking the livelihood of
Yep.
9 million people. That's what you should focus on.
And I'll tell
And
you,
I
our
think this is
country,
why we need the relocation program
I'll tell you,
for
we
the
are not
civilians.
willing to do it again. We are not willing to do it again. This whole nation stands together in unity right now. There's a very, very small minority of people in Israel who want the war to be over. I mean, obviously, we all want the war to be over, but we want it to
But
be
well, you want to
over on
win. You want to make sure it doesn't
our
happen again.
terms. We
Yeah,
are
yeah.
going to win this war, definitively. There's no ifs, ands, or buts this time. I think that's what's changed in my country, and I've never seen this kind of energy in my country before this, is we are here to win and to send a message. Do not F with us. Do not come for us. I mean, the Jewish world has changed. I'm trying to be a pivotal change in that cog as well. I've changed in the last year.
I
But
like it. I like it.
but
You're
we're
more
we're
firm.
done
We're Middle
we're
Eastern
done with
now. You're not
the
playing around. Yeah.
we're done with the defensive. We're done with the you can come and attack us. We're done with the you can bully us. We're done with the you can be racist to us. No more. Jews now are going on the offensive. We're coming for the throat. You screw with us, we're coming 10 times
Yeah.
harder.
You're
And
doing the
I
Middle
really
Eastern style.
I believe in that. I want people to respect me. I want when I sit at a
Yeah.
table and I come eye level, I want people to look me in the eyes and I look at them with the same respect that they look with me. And they don't judge me for
I'll be
my
honest with you. Trust me, the vast majority of Arabs do respect Israelis because you guys had the chance to flee and you didn't. You know, every time people used to call Israelis cowards in Jordan, Saudi, the Arab world, they used to call Israelis cowards all the time. That changed when in October 7th, all the Israelis that were outside of Israel came back, and there was like
yeah,
600,000 people come back.
millions,
At
man.
that
It's
time,
crazy.
even the radical Islamists, they said, okay, they're not cowards anymore. So
It's the only country. It's the only country in the
yeah,
world. I
and
mean, I
and
was in the Philippines. I remember when it happened. I was in my house in the Philippines, and I was surrounded by Israelis, by hundreds of them. And it doesn't matter what color skin, Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, anybody, you
they're
would think they
attacking
would have to
everybody.
leave. Everybody in unity flew back. I took me a couple of months, to be honest. I resisted because I was like, I don't want to get involved in the propaganda. I don't want to do it, but it's going to ruin my life. But I realized at some point also, I was like, this is my duty. I have to step up to the plate. I'm embarrassed that it took me as long as it did, but I did it. I really had to think about where my life was going to go after, and I knew that my mouth can get me in trouble, and honestly, it has. But I had to
You
do it
made some
because
progress. I love your videos. Trust me, I love your videos,
thank you,
and I
brother.
think the
Thank you.
word. Trust me, in the next 4 years, it's our years. When Trump
Yes,
comes, it's our years. We
yes,
could change
it's
a lot
our
of things.
years.
We could change a lot of
Correct.
things, and I'm very optimistic about it. But you have to visit me again in Jordan, and then I'll tell them.
I'd
Yeah,
love
I'll
to,
take
man.
you to the Jordanians, and you will see. I've had a Jewish person visit me there before. He was an American though, but they thought he was like a European, but they didn't believe that he was Jewish. Like he
I,
looked
I
white,
would
so
love
people.
I would love
Okay,
nothing more than having a correcting experience in Jordan. Also
you
for
will
Egypt, because honestly,
Jordan
my
side.
experience in both of the,
Egypt is
it's tough.
Egypt
They're
is
very
tough.
racist.
Egypt is tough. Egypt is tough
Listen, I
because Egypt is
Jordan,
controlled
I
by the
like
Muslim Brotherhood. It's tough.
I I don't want to feel these emotions towards my neighbors. I want to
Oh
like
yeah,
them,
yeah.
and to be honest with you, Jordan in both of the Iranian attacks, I'll never forget in my life ever. I will never forget this in my life. I remember when I was sitting on the balcony of my cousin's building and I was looking at rockets in the West Bank and drones from Iran launching into Israel. I wasn't in a place where the rockets were falling, so I could look at it from far away. And I remember reading the news and seeing the news that Jordanian air fighter jets were in the sky shooting down rockets. And I remember hearing fighter jets. Obviously, they weren't Jordans, but I remember reading that and connecting it. And I had this moment where I had goosebumps, bro. Because my connection with Jordan my whole life has been it's an enemy state, even though we have peace. And when I visited there, I wasn't treated so nicely. And so I never really had positive emotions. I got goosebumps, bro. Because I was like, is this the turning point where Jordanians become my brothers? Is this the point where I can actually start seeing
I think
Jordan?
it is. I
I
think
can
it
see
is.
Jordan
Well,
as my brother, as my family. I don't want to see Jordan as my enemy.
you know, in I was so pissed. The reason why I started my TikTok is October 7th. I did not post videos before.
Mm.
When Jordan did not say anything, UAE did not say anything, Saudi did not say anything, I was so pissed. I filmed the video. I said, why are we so fucking hypocrites? Why aren't our leaders going out and saying this is a terrorist attack and we're not giving? There's a video of me in Arabic. You could see it as in like October 10th. I said, no food for Gaza until they surrender. Because if you give them food, Hamas will steal it. I said this like 3 days after the war. I said the Arab leaders should come out and talk. It took Jordan till November and they finally spoke. But I was really frustrated and even made multiple videos talking about the king, and a lot of the days did not like that. But I said, you know what? I'm not flipping my opinion. I'm not saying I'm going to use the Israelis. When I say I
Right.
want peace with the Israelis, I want peace with the Israelis, even if the Americans turned against them. I'm not going to betray them. When I give them my word that they are my neighbor and they're my friend, and they lived there for thousands of years, it's just our honor as Bedouin Arabs that we have to protect them as our neighbors. When we tell them there's peace, it doesn't matter if you love them or not. It doesn't matter if you hate them or not. You give them your word as there's peace and there's unity. We have to do it even if we hate them. Not if we don't like them, not if we love them, even if we hate them. As an Arab, you have to do it. You know, this is or as a Middle Eastern, like we value promises, we value these, spiritual things.
Yeah.
So,
I think one
but
of the things that you
it's
said
going in a really
earlier,
better way.
I think one of the things you said earlier too is really resonates with me is the fact that Arabs don't know. They don't know who Jews are because they haven't had a lot of
Oh, yeah,
experience.
yeah, yeah.
I'm lucky because like I grew up in a society where we have Arabs, and so I've traveled to the Arab world. I've had Arabs around, and I've had access to Arabs my whole life. And that feeling of like how Arabs speak
I'm with you.
poetically, and the food, and the being very charitable and giving a lot, and
But
when
you guys are
somebody's your
identical. You
but
have an
the thing is,
identical culture.
but that's the thing is like I don't like I think Arabs have a lot of traits that are really wonderful and charismatic, and you like can fall in love with them very easily. And I've luckily had that, but Arabs have not had that with Jewish people. Like they haven't had an ability to have a Jew host them, or to cook them dinner, or to take them on a tour of their city, or
Oh yeah, yeah. They
to
will be. Trust me. All our issues will end because we are so identical and we laugh at the same things and we
yeah.
say racist jokes about Asians and blacks and we look at the Western people the same way. And I'm telling you, any Israeli uncle is identical to an Arab uncle. How they
For
think, how
sure.
like young Americans are dumb, and how, you know, it
And
is
it's
amazing.
a shame. It's a shame that we haven't had to have that. We haven't have. It's been a one-sided cross of culture. I'll say that not every Jew has had the access to Arabs the way that I have, because I've also made access to Arabs in my life, and there's a lot of Jews who are scared and they're shut off from that, so they don't engage the way that I do. But I would say that a vast majority of Arabs, they don't know who a Jew is. They don't know who a Yehudi is. They've never had the ability to fall in love with a Jew, to have a moment. You know how much I love Jewish people, man, and I'm a Jew, but you know how much I love Jewish people. We're
I love your
so
culture, guys, too.
we're
You
wonderful.
remind me
Really, we
when
really
I'm in
are.
America. When I'm in America, you guys remind me of Jordan. The
Yeah,
family,
man.
how you don't feel embarrassed asking people stuff because it's
Yeah.
just a lovely feeling. Like people love to help you. They love to.
Yes.
It's not when you go to like Western people asking for something, they feel bothered. But if you go to an Arab or a Jew and ask them something, they're so happy that you asked them. They're like, "Oh, I want to give you this. I want to do this for you." So it is very. But I'm optimistic. I think after October 7th, the world have changed,
The
and
world
it's
has
our
changed
time
for
to
sure.
change stuff too.
Absolutely, man. I agree with that. I agree with that notion so much that I think that we're in a, obviously the hostages being in Gaza, it's terrible, and the war is still going on, and the fact that we're losing
Well,
soldiers is
it's gonna
terrible,
end really soon. I think Trump is
and the fact
serious.
that Palestinians are dying also is terrible, and like it's all terrible. It's a very very dark point in all of our lives, but I do think that the new age that we're living in now that the war has happened and the dynamics of the Middle East changing, we are in probably now the best position ever to usher in a new age of peace in the
Yeah,
Middle
people are
East.
not gonna. Our grandkids not gonna believe when we say we never had peace before. They're not gonna believe
But
it.
now the
They're
question
gonna be like,
is,
"What?"
it's up to us. Are we going to make the right choices?
Oh
Are
yeah,
we gonna
I think
are we gonna make the right choices to we have I see it as we have this opportunity right now. It could go one way or it could go the other way. It's up to all of us to make the right decisions collectively as the Middle Eastern people. It's our point right now to put down the racism, to put down the animosity, to put down everything, and really look towards the future with Trump, with the Abraham
to
Accords,
be the
uh,
generation that switch
to
things.
be the
You know,
generation, to push
yeah,
this in the right direction. Because, yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be pushed in the right direction, but then it's the duty of all of us together as
to
people
carry it to the
to
finish
carry
line.
it forward. We got to keep pushing it because if we push it and we let it fall, it's over. We'll go back to square one
No,
again.
no, trust me, I'm optimistic, and I'm telling you this because I've talked to a lot of Israelis, a lot of Arabs, and a lot of Americans. I think it's over time. I think the next 100 years are the Middle East 100 years. We
Inshallah,
have
bro.
better
I hope
weather.
so.
We have. I'm very optimistic, and you have to come to one of my lives in Arabic. I make lives in Arabic, and I get a lot, the most watched ones in Jordan. I get like 10,000 people watching me, and
Wow.
Jordan is a small country. And one time, one of my Israeli friends told me he wants to come, and he joined the live. He speaks Arabic fluently, and he was shocked how much people like said hi to him. They talked to the Palestinians, and everybody stood with him, and everybody talked about October 7th, how bad he was, and he was shocked. Like he texted me, he's like, "I'm so shocked. Like that's not what you watch on TV." I was like, "Look, what you watched on TV was true before October 7th." But in my community, at least in my community, and the people who watch me, and my followers, the 300, 400,000 people that watch me, they have a different perspective, and it's getting bigger and bigger every year.
That's
And I'm
amazing,
I'm
man.
I'm I'm very happy about it. And this is not going to be our last time talking.
Of course
I don't
not.
wanna
Where
I don't wanna take too
hopefully you
much of
come
your
to
time.
Israel and I come to Jordan. Hopefully we can do
Yeah,
this in person, man. That's
and
the goal.
we should do a podcast in Arabic too.
I'm down. Hopefully in a
I'll help
couple
you.
months
We could,
yeah,
yeah.
hopefully in a couple months my Arabic will be fluent, so I actually be able to
You
have a
could.
like a
Here's how you have to practice. Here's how we can practice. We could make Twitter Spaces, and you
okay.
could talk to Arabs. I will see. Talking to random people, it's bad, but I will like you will see my community, a lot of people, and you'll be like, okay, there's at least like 400,000 people who are normal out of 4 million. That's good, that's better than zero. That's better than zero.
I love that idea of making Twitter spaces and talking to people.
Yeah,
I do this all the time. I go on Omi TV and I try to practice my Arabic with Arabs from all over the world, and that's how I improve. Besides the actual classes that I take, um, but yeah, no, I mean soon. I think within the year I'll be able to be at least semi-conversational. I'm already kind of conversational, but broken conversation. But hopefully I can have like I want to have full my vision really of where I want to take my content journey and what I'm doing. I want to go to the Arab world. I want to go to Morocco. I want to go to the UAE. I want to go to Jordan. I want to go to Bahrain. I want to sit down and I want to have
Saudi's very
very
nice too. Saudi is a really
in
beautiful
Saudi, I
country.
want to have tough conversations with Arabs face to face in their territory. I want to put down my walls. It's going to be scary for me also because obviously as a Jew, like that's not the most comfortable thing in the world to do, but I want to do it as a show of faith of saying, "Hey, I'm coming unarmed." I want to have
They will do the same, and I'm very optimistic about it. Trust me. I
yeah.
think this is why I always tell the Arabs when we talk to the Israelis, we have to do more because we did more bad things. And admitting the bad things is really good. It's not our mistake. It's our grandparents. It's different generation, different drama.
Right.
Now
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
our time.
absolutely.
Let's finish the issue. Let's focus on making this country
Let's fix
beautiful. We
it.
have the nicest beaches, nicest weather.
Yeah.
It was an amazing conversation, and we
Absolutely,
have to
brother.
do it again
I'm
in
so
multiple
thankful. Yeah.
languages.
Thanks,
I,
man. Thank you so much
I
for
really
inviting me,
enjoyed it,
bro. It's
and
really amazing.
we will make sure your next trip to Jordan will be redemption.
Inshallah. And really, I want to end by saying, bro, it's like I took a little video of us talking. I want to post to my social media. It's an honor for me to be able to talk
Really,
to you like this. Really. It's like
really.
it gives
I'm very
me
happy. I'm a big fan.
goosebumps.
I'm watching you for a year. I tried to reach out, but we finally did it. No, but I
Yeah.
love your contact. I your content. I loved your video in Syria. You're like, what's up about Syria? We'll talk about
Thank you.
we have to make a podcast about Syria because what's happening there is horrible.
Yeah, it's
It was
terrible.
really fun. Next time we have to do in Jordan drinking tea and eating
Absolutely.
sunflower seeds.
Yalla, sounds amazing, bro.
Have a Shabbat and
Love it.
have a great day.
Thanks, brother. You too, man. Thank you so much.